I just wanted to say a couple of things about what I've got out of doing Faster EFT. I think it was about 5 years ago that I first went down to Melbourne to do my level 1. I'd sort of done a little bit of EFT, very minimal amount, and how I got into or found EFT was just finding a book, and it was when my father had died and I could not get up in front of more than 3 people without being hugely emotional, shaking, in tears, even if it was just like a staff meeting or something, you know, talking about something not emotional at all. And just that book and learning to tap myself enabled me to sort of get up and at least give him a bit of a farewell in front of people. It was pretty shaky and pretty emotional, but I was able to do it. And just the fact that I can stand up here now and not be in tears and shaking and, you know, basically being in fight, flight or freeze is just remarkable for me. I mean, I'm still a bit nervous and that sort of thing, but I know I won't probably die right here, right now. So that's, you know, that is one real area that I've come a long way. I mean, even I was doing a cruise with Pam last year and we were talking Faster EFT to people on a boat, and you know, Pam helped me through, and we did a lot of tapping through just the sort of like going into that state and convulsions, not quite convulsions, but before getting up in front of people. And so yeah, that's something that's really practically changed, and I know that it'll keep improving as I go along. I suppose the other main area in my life my life looked a lot different back then. I was in a business that I didn't want to be in. I was probably 15 kilos heavier. Just my general health wasn't as good as it is now. And so I've used the tapping in order to sort of go from where I was to where I want to be. And that's a journey that never ends. As Robert says, you'll always be tapping, because it's really just about creating what you want your future to look like, and everything in that future. And so I suppose the biggest thing for me is just in relationships. So I've got 2 boys that are now 22 and 17, and I remember going down, my 22-year-old, who's now running a business that I own in Sydney while I'm away, was one of those kids that, you know, I don't know how many times I sat in the principal's office throughout his life, and that's from preschool to high school. And, you know, how many times he got brought home by the police for graffitiing and things like that. And I remember the second time I went down to Melbourne, we were doing this sort of work, and, you know, and that was my main focus. That was what was keeping me up at night. That was the sort of reason, you know, he was the biggest problem, you know, in my life, in a sense. And, you know, and I loved him, and we still had a good, close relationship, but, you know, it was causing me a lot of anxiety. And so I sat in the chair, and I sort of, you know, talked about, so we did a sort of an intake for me with everybody, just as a sort of practice. And I sort of went on and on about all of these things and what I was worried about and all of that sort of thing. And then it basically, you know, I was an example of how all of those things that I was projecting onto him, all of those fears about he wouldn't reach his potential, or he'll end up, you know, destitute, or whatever it was, all of these hundreds of reasons or proofs I had to be worried about Sonny was just all about me. It was just all about my own fears, and I was projecting those onto him. And so it really made it hard to have just a real relationship with him because I was coming from fear and worry, and he knew I loved him, but I was projecting all of these things about my own life, onto him. And as I was able to work with that, and people work with me on that, I was able to just let that all go. And it is a continual process, of course, when I was able to do that, I was able to be there for him and just love him the way he was, and to see all of the great things about him and all of his potential. So basically we started to be able to have a relationship. He was able to sort of trust me because, and again, it's one of Robert's sayings, I wasn't coming in every time with my guns out. I was just coming in as, someone that was just in a relationship with him. And when you do that, when you realise that most of the things you're thinking about other people or the people that are causing you problems in your life, and you're able to, I think what Faster EFT has done for me, and what it does is it gives you a map back from that person, from that situation that's causing you pain or causing the relationship to have trouble. It gives you a map back inside yourself in order to then go and change and heal those parts of yourself. And then suddenly that problem, isn't in front of you anymore, and you're able to just interact with that person from a totally different space. So for me, that is the sort of value of this work, is that every upset, every problem that you have or that you perceive in your life, every challenge that you're facing, from that point, what we learn is how to take that back inside ourselves and heal and love ourselves more, and that disappears. Of course, something else fucking comes up, and it's just like, the flip side of that is that, it's quite easy and nice to be able to just have someone else as the problem. So sometimes, this is a lonely path because it is all you. So I wouldn't lie to anyone, or from my experience, I'm still going through stuff. But, there is a path, and there is the other thing about the Faster EFT is there's a community. And a community not just to sort of go and have a beer and complain about life, but actually a community to sit there and go, well, I hear what you're saying, but, it's all you. And but you can jump on Skype or jump on the phone and actually work through that. And when you work through and you change that memory or change that whatever it is inside you, and that belief, it's just total freedom. It's like finding $50 in your pocket when you pull your jeans out of the washer or the dryer. It's sort of like something that was always yours, but you'd lost and you'd forgotten about it, and so it just gives you yourself back. So that's what I'd say. I had something else, but I can't remember now. I think that's probably enough. So, Robert G. Smith.
Always having so much fun. 'Cause playing music is simple to me. I just kick back.
All right, that sounds very nice. Thank you there, Sasha. Yeah, that's so true, guys. I mean, when you start actually working on yourself, you really start to find out it really is about you. That doesn't mean that people don't have problems, but when we allow their problems to be our own problems, then we got a problem with ourselves. And again, it's how you interpret things. So this is the first day of the actual real training in FasterEFT Level 1.